Hello and welcome, this is Southern Style Gaming, and today I'm going to be talking about Nintendo's new console, the Nintendo Switch. Now with the release of the Switch only roughly about a month away, I'm making this video explaining how I feel about it, and just what I personally think of it. Now as a side note, I've been meaning to make this video since mid-October of last year, but just never found the time, so with less of a speculative and more of a critical point of view, just know that I haven't seen every live stream and gameplay expo and all that kind of stuff. I'm just taking what I saw from the conference and all the trailers that we've had for the console and its games. Without further ado, let's go. So first, let's look at the console itself, the Nintendo Switch. Now, it looks like a great console, and the fact that they've sold out most everywhere by now is a strong indication that I am not alone in this belief. However, I do have a few concerns, the main one being motion controls. So it has been confirmed that the Switch will use motion controls, and to be honest, this bothers me way more than it should. The thing is, I feel like motion controls came and went, and Nintendo is trying to hold on to this gimmick to stay unique, but in a way that's counterproductive, because it takes a little away from the main gimmick of the console, its portability. Now if motion controls are refined and have limited use, it won't be so bad, but with games like ARMS being shown off, chances are there will be several first-party titles to use motion controls. I hope I'm wrong. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Another thing that bothers me is the dreadful battery life. It's said to only last around 2 hours when used to its fullest. Now, I understand that Nintendo is marketing it as a home console first, but still, 2 hours is just pitiful. There will be a mobile charger packed with the console, but I still don't see why Nintendo couldn't at least make a battery pack for it or something. And lastly, the launch lineup. It's not a huge concern for me, as Breath of the Wild is one of the launch titles, and with an overworld that big, I'll be too busy with that to really care, but not everyone likes Zelda. I mean, for those of you who don't, I'm sorry for lack of a heart, but it's not a selling point for everyone. Outside of that, we have Super Bomberman R, 1-2 Switch, Just Dance 2017, and Skylanders Imaginators. Now, Super Bomberman R looks pretty fun, but chances are I'll leave it for later. I never did play the older Bomberman games, so I can't really compare it to them. 1-2 Switch appears to be the general party game for the console, basically the Wii Sports of the Switch. Now, while it does look kind of fun, and I thought the opening bit with the Old West style showdown was amusing, I will not be paying full price for it. If they pack it with the Switch, great, but if it's not packed with it, which I don't think they are, I'll wait for it to be in the bargain bin at Walmart or something like that. Now, I'm not particularly a fan of Just Dance, and Skylanders Imaginators is already out for other systems, so I'm gonna go ahead and skip over that and talk about some of the games we'll be seeing on the Switch later on. So, Sonic Mania looks, in layman's terms, like a glorified remake of the older Sonic games. Now, while many people have some gripes with this, I personally like it. I have, sadly and to my everlasting shame, never finished a Sonic game, and the only one I've ever even played is Sonic Heroes. So, for me, I'll be discovering the Sonic series with this game. What Sonic Mania seems like to me, at its core, is a refinement of the first several games in the series. The graphics look a bit sharper, yet still look like a classic Sonic game. The Blue Hedgehog himself is given some new moves, and some new stages have been added. I like what I'm seeing so far, and I plan on getting it for the Switch. Now comes yet another moment of disappointment, as I've yet to play the original Xenoblade Chronicles, a deed made even worse by the fact that I own the game. However, with a sequel this good looking on the way, it's certainly on my to-do list. Now, one thing I've heard so much about from the first game is the world the game takes place in, with how big it is and just how much stuff there is to do, as well as how beautiful it looks. The trailer seems to put a focus on this, as the game looks truly incredible. The sweeping shots of the world you'll likely be spending a good few hundred hours exploring truly puts this game's scale and beauty on display. Another thing that I'd like to say is, with it being a JRPG set in such a big, incredible world, hopefully, I can hopefully assume that the story and characters will all be complex and interesting, and maybe even a little mysterious. I've heard nothing but good things in these regards to the original, so hopefully that will carry over. In short, I'm sure Xenoblade Chronicles 2 will be a must-have JRPG on the Switch. Now, having little experience with the original, I don't know really how well I can assess this one, but I'll do my best. So, this will be Nintendo's sequel to their smash hit online multiplayer third-person shooter kinda thingamawhopper, Splatoon. It looks like it'll be a fun experience, and it's a game I will probably have by the end of the year. I doubt I'll buy it on launch day, but I guess we'll just wait and see. The multiplayer action does look really fun, and the game is very bright and colorful, as it should be considering it's basically fancy paintball. Either way, the game looks great, and I'm sure it will be at least a little bit of a console seller. Now, seeing the Skyrim remaster come to the Switch is very interesting, but with that comes some other possibilities. Now, these are all speculation, and most of them are very unlikely, so don't take any of this seriously. Now, there are 3 remakes I would like to see come to the Switch, and they are Luigi's Mansion, Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, and Final Fantasy VI. With Luigi's Mansion, all I think needs to happen is a slight change of the control scheme and a fresh coat of paint. Other than that, I think it would be a perfect game for a hybrid console such as the Switch. Now, with Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, I feel like there are a few small improvements that could be made, such as with the shopping system only allowing you to buy or sell one item at a time, and maybe difficulty settings, as after all these years of playing it, I find it ridiculously easy. Other than that, just touch up the graphics and I'll be happy. Now, with Final Fantasy VI, I'd like to see a complete overhaul akin to what they're doing with Final Fantasy VII. Build it from the ground up, rework the combat system. I mean, while I love the game, I never have been a huge fan of turn-based, and maybe add some extra content. Oh, and one last thing. Since we have Skyrim Remastered coming to the Switch, could we maybe, just maybe, see BioShock the Collection? Pretty please, Nintendo? Pretty please? Alright, now we're up to the big 2. The 2 games that I would argue made the biggest splash at the Nintendo conference, and definitely the 2 that I'm the most excited for. And up first is the main series game for our red-cap-donning, mustachioed Italian plumber friendo, Mario. I meant Mario. So it appears we will get an open-world Mario game, somewhat in the style of 64, with the same overworld as Grand Theft Auto 4, that being New York City, except this time New York translates to New Donk instead of Liberty. In the game, it appears that your platforming adventures will take you across the world, exploring many environments, and probably trying to stop this wedding thing going on. Way to rip off Count Olaf, Bowser. All jokes aside, this game looks incredible. I'm very happy to see Mario back in his normal 3D style of gameplay. As well received as 3D World was, I mostly hated it. So seeing this return to normal gameplay 3D Mario game is a huge sigh of relief, at least personally to me. However, what appears to have changed is the world itself. To put it simply, this world looks massive, with buckets of things to do. The platforming looks excellent, and the levels look very interesting. It looks like it's taking many leaps, and hopefully they all pay off. Last, but far from least, we have Mario's hat, which looks like it can be used as a mean of pulling off longer and higher jumps. Put simply, this is the Mario game that everyone has always wanted. And last, but certainly not least, we look at what is, for I and many others, the most anticipated game for the Switch, The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. And let me tell you folks, it looks to be nothing short of fantastic. Being set in Hyrule that has been stricken with despair, a Link who has slept for 100 years is awoken to find his former kingdom in ruin and in the control of an evil known as Calamity Ganon, by way of his forces roaming the land. The biggest thing about this game, both literally and figuratively, is the world. The overworld is a whopping 198 square miles. Compare this to Skyrim, which has an overworld of 15 square miles. For those of you who don't want to do the math, and I guess for those of you who do as well, I'm going to tell you anyway, this makes Breath of the Wild 13 times bigger than Skyrim. The game is truly massive, and it looks like the world will have plenty to do and see. It seems like a game that promotes exploration more so than any other game in the series, with it having you doing things like collecting wood and food, as well as you having to swap out weapons as they can break. One of the things that has my attention that will likely be hugely integrated into many different aspects of the game is the Sheikah Slate. The Sheikah Slate is an object that looks akin to a smartphone or a tablet, and seems to play a huge role in several facets of gameplay, most notably as a map or waypoint marker. It's something I'm certainly very interested in. Another thing about this game that I love is the art style it uses. It seems like a perfect cross-section of all the 3D Zelda games we've seen to this point, although it does make its strongest artistic influence, those being Wind Waker and Skyward Sword, kind of obvious. Either way, the game looks incredibly beautiful and detailed. Lastly, I would like to discuss the story. It seems very tragic, and hopelessness seems to have set in to an extent. I'm not sure exactly what Calamity Ganon is supposed to be, just that he has been imprisoned, and it seems as though his forces have taken over Hyrule. It also seems that Zelda has been doing things, but whatever they are, they haven't worked, and that is why disaster has fallen upon the land. Now, near the end of the trailer, we hear a voice saying, "You must save her, my daughter." I'm going to assume that is the King of Hyrule saying this. So maybe Zelda has tried to do something drastic, it backfires, so now you have to save her. One final point I would like to bring up is the possibility of the timelines merging. And this is the connecting point, or maybe the connecting point was 100 years before when Link was put to sleep. I'm more than likely wrong, but I like the idea of the timelines reconnecting somehow being responsible for the turmoil. Overall, the game looks beautiful, and it seems to be sizing up to be one of the greatest Zelda games to date. In closing, I'd like to say that I think the Switch will be a phenomenal console, and I think most of its games will be smash hits. This generation of Nintendo is one that I am truly looking forward to. Thank you for watching, God bless, and have a good day.